So
So I'm here with Mark Dawson, and he's telling me an amazing story about how his success in running led to his success in writing. Mark, go with it now.
yeah, so Trisha, I think that with my newfound confidence, with becoming an elite runner for my age, at the age of 35, I got back into running after 20 years of not doing any. And it sort of gave me that confidence to transcend the self-belief and the self-discipline you need to become an athlete. That I could use that same sort of skill set in my writing and in my art. So I thought, well, if I'm good at running, I could be good at something else. And I was always good at art and writing at school as well as running. And that's what sort of gave me that confidence to take up writing at the age of 40, having done 3 dissertations, 2 masters and a degree. That I knew I was very learned, and my writing skills were pretty good to be able to do dissertations. And I realized that they're not challenged enough in the workplace. So I had a lot of ideas, a lot of philosophy of my own that I influenced through my work experience. And that's where I've drawn upon the foundation of the story, because essentially it's taking my dissertation in my master's wind energy research and making that as the core theme of the book, which is around climate change and wind energy research, and the science involved in that, and then transformed it into a sci-fi story. Added a lot of fiction, a lot of time travel. I just let my imagination free. But yeah, I mean that's how it's sort of the arc of the story was built, really. So I don't know whether you want to move on to another question.
No, that's great. Move on to talking about your story.
Yeah, so I mean the story, as I said, it started off with me wanting to have the core theme centered around my semi-autobiographical research, if you like, from my wind energy. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be good to have like an arc of a story where you've got nuclear versus wind energy, because I'm very pro renewables. And you have the villains in the nuclear category, and you have the heroes in the wind category. So that was kind of how it formed. But then as I started writing, I thought, well, actually, I want to make this historical fiction, philosophical fiction, speculative, political, psychological, time travel romance, dystopian, mystery thriller, and spy thriller. So it crosses over to about 10 subgenres. This is no ordinary sci-fi story. It's like not something that you could churn out inside a couple of months or a year. I mean, I've basically started my wind energy research 20 years ago. It took me 3 years to write the story, over 150,000 words, and I split it up into 3 parts. Hence, it's a trilogy. So it's been a long slog, and I'm the kind of writer where I don't just put pen to paper and I'll write. I'll come back to it months later. And I am that sort of typical artist where I like to improve things. I put layer upon layer upon layer. And that's the way that I approach things. I want to create a masterpiece. I don't want to just, I might only ever write one trilogy. I'm more of a creative person, natural creative person than I am a natural writer. But I'm not going to disrespect my writing, because I think my writing's decent. It's good, but it's not the best. Do you understand? So I'm not. I would say that I would sort of put the emphasis on the creative ideas, the ideologies, the plot, the scenes, the characters, the themes. That's been my sort of my strength, if you like. Yeah. My prose is okay. I mean, I hired a ghostwriter to help me with some of the prose, so I have acknowledged him in the credits, the book. So like a lot of people, to get across the line, you need to hire people, a team to help you get to support you when you're working full time. But yeah, I mean, in essence, I'm proud of what I've achieved. It's been a long a long road. There's been a lot of problems I've had to overcome, financially, and it just having the time to be able to devote to this. And I would have liked to have had the trilogy complete. It is written. I've had to add another extra 10,000 words, and I'm planning to do. I've created that, but I've got to edit it over the Christmas period coming up, and I'm looking to launch the third book in February. It's probably going to be February now.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, just the accomplishment of 160,000 words, that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, and it's hard because there's words that you need to disregard, or it might have been 180 and I've cut it right down. Do you understand? So there's been a lot of drafts over the past sort of 3 years. I mean, well, it was 3 years when it complete. I've added more over the past 2 years, but I've spent the past 2 years marketing the first two books, which has been hard, and getting publishing, getting editing. And it's just been a nightmare trying to understand all the social media marketing, which is all new. It's a new language to me, But if I had to sum it up in 10 words, what's the story? I mean, essentially, I use the strap line is that can a scientist prevent a shape-shifting android from destroying the planet? And you could say, well, reading into that, that's very similar to Terminator 2. Yes, you had a shape-shifting android in Terminator 2, and he time traveled back. I'm going to put my hand up and say, yeah, I'm being influenced by a lot of things, but then who isn't? Right. We all have influenced by, you could say H.G. Wells was influenced by Mary Shelley. We all, Frankenstein was influenced from real science. And, Einstein was influenced by H.G. Wells' Time Machine. So we're all influenced by everything. But I mean, I would say it's more Da Vinci Code, if you like, the style of the book, because it's very spy thriller. There's a mystery code in the book as well. You try to figure out the time travel concept. So yeah, there's a lot of different concepts in the book. It's not just one concept. It is linear. It is a start, beginning, middle, and an end. So it's quite relatively straightforward to understand, and that's one of the pleasant things that I've got feedback from the reviews I've had, where people have said, even though it may sound like a complex subject area, there's people who are not non-scientists, who are not sci-fi readers. It's not their favorite genre. Yet when they read my book, because it's more ecological, more environmental, it's very current, it's very climate change, and it's the romance, the time travel romance aspect as well. So it has something for everyone, And it's not your typical hard sci-fi. As a rule, I don't enjoy reading Isaac Asimov. I find it difficult to follow his stories, and I don't. Ursula Gunn, as well, Left Hand of Darkness, them type of stories, I find them hard going. I do enjoy H.G. Wells. I think his writing style is good, but yeah, I mean, I would say that my book is more than just a sci-fi read.
Yeah, it really does sound like that soft sci-fi that has adventure and mystery, and everybody loves those books, right? Da Vinci Code, Terminator. Everybody loves those. So why not say, if you like this, you'll like this book? And that's, kudos on someone saying to you, I don't like sci-fi, or don't like hard sci-fi, but this book entertained me, and, I enjoyed it. So that's something very cool to get back from your readers.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's more of a mystery thriller, mystery sci-fi thriller, I would say, to sum it up, really. But I don't suppose you've had a chance to read it yet, no?
I haven't. I have a huge TBR pile, and especially it's growing every day with these new podcasts. Because I talk to a new author, I'm like, yes, I want to read your book, but I'm also writing my own books, and yes, so I am working through them, and I'm sure I will pick yours up. I'm going to pick it up right after this podcast because it sounds amazing, and I love that type of book as well, because I guess I'm comparing it to The Martian a little bit because that was the most recent hard sci-fi I would read.
Yeah.
My husband loved it because he's an engineer and he read every little detail of everything the main character did. And I got to those parts and I was like, okay, skimming.
Yeah.
Skim to where some action happens.
I've got to I'm gonna be straight, open, and honest here. I got halfway through The Martian and I didn't finish it because I got quite bored with it. And like you, I get bored with the hard sci-fi. Now, interesting enough, ironically, my dissertation is very scientific, looking at the wind science and aerodynamics. And I could have included that in my story, but I toned it down deliberately because I knew I would lose the audience. Do you understand?
Right. So, yeah. And you want to, if that's what you want to enjoy it as well, right?
Yeah. And now because my book's written in the third person, it's narrated, in the third person. So it's not like The Martian where it's in the first person, where it's like autobiographical. Again, personally, I wrote it like a Shakespearean play. Not that it is Shakespeare, but there's little you'll know when I say that you'll because I'm a big fan of Julius Caesar, Shakespeare, and there's a scene in my first book where you can acknowledge the fact that I've paid respect to Julius Caesar, because there's a scene in Julius Caesar where they're in the courtyard and Julius Caesar with Brutus and Cassius. And there's a little scene in my book one that's reminiscent of that. Yeah.
Oh, neat.
And that's so I've been inspired by Shakespeare. I've been inspired by Perseus, the Greek mythology character, where he goes off and he gets weapons to try and fight his villains. And that's I've used that sort of concept with the protagonist, Dr. Ben Richards, where he improves his physique and his mental psyche to actually help him get over the antagonist. So yeah, I mean, I loved English at school, so I am very heavily influenced by Shakespeare and Greek mythology, and you can see it in the story how I've brought that aspect to it. So yeah, I'm not a fan of The Martian, I'm going to be honest. I'm more of a third person sort of play. Right, I like to bring characters in. Yeah, it's more character driven, right. But it's also plot driven as well. I mean, it's plot and character driven.
You have to have both its aspects for the reader to love it, because they have to love your characters, they have to care about your characters to be interested in it, and then you have to keep them moving towards that goal. So all of those are great elements. Yeah.
I just got to keep faith that one day I will get a knock on the door saying, Mark, we want to produce your story as a Netflix or an Amazon Prime, because that's just what I need right now. A little bit of luck. We all want that, don't we, as writers? But it will be, the cherry on the cake. That's basically what I want. I know someone said to me the other day that because I said, oh, my sales are not really picking up fast, and he said, well, it can take 5 years, Mark. Don't beat yourself up about it. Especially if you're trying to do it as a one-man band all on your own, it's difficult. I've hired a social media marketer to help. She's done very good. She's got my Instagram following increased a lot in the past 6 weeks, which is great. But it's been difficult, Trisha. It's been very difficult. When you don't know a lot about social media, you don't know about the marketing side. I've had to self-teach myself, self-publish. Because initially I started off hybrid publisher, and then my hybrid publisher I felt let me down. It didn't give me enough support. It left me in the lurch. And then I was kind of like, well, what do I do now? I'm gonna have to do all the self-marketing myself. And it's quite daunting when you got a full-time job, you got to look after a family. Where do you get the time to learn all these new skills? Where do you got the time to do it? Never mind learn it. And then, how do you have the money to outsource it? Where are you gonna get the money for that? It's just, I can understand people get high. I mean, I suffered high anxiety. I'm just being very open, honest in this interview.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I'll tell you how it is. I mean, it's been a rough ride, but it's been up and down. I've enjoyed some of the reviews. It's been great. Some days I'm up here like that. Some days I'm really low. And I just think, looking back, it was, just before COVID outbreak, that year before that, I was working in a factory. I was right, because I lost my full-time job in construction, and I was writing the second book on sticky notes while I was working, yeah, and to get all my ideas while I'm working, and just a job that wasn't just as well, it wasn't a taxing job, because I wouldn't have had the time to finish it. But because I was working warehouse, it gave me free time to generate my ideas and scribble ideas down on pieces of card. So anyway, and then I'd go home, and then I'd have to do the website content articles on the website, and I'd be doing, and some of them are like 500 to 1,000 words. So I've practically written a second book, on just the content articles for my website, and I've done 80 of them. I did 80 articles, which were between 500 to 1,000. So I've written like nearly 40 to 80,000 words on just the content articles. If you go on my website, my author website, you'll see how many articles I've done. There's 80 of them, and I did that over the space of like 9 months. And I was like up till 2-3 o'clock in the morning. I was getting 4 hours sleep, and it's just, but all because I felt I needed to do it, because I didn't have support, and I wanted my book to be a success. But as you know, there isn't just the website. There's the social media. There's all the other marketing. There's PR. There's the press release. It's like never ending. And I counted there's about 14 jobs I could have been doing. So, but I think what I've learned is I just need to, even though I would like to be a full-time writer and make money and be the next sort of Michael Crichton, which would be great. You've got to keep your feet on the ground and realize that you have to just savor the moment and just realize it's a hobby kind of thing until something that might happen. Don't push it too much, because it might never happen. And no matter how hard you try, something you can't change destiny. Destiny's there for you. So I like you as a runner. You try to control your own fate and destiny, because you're very self-disciplined and motivated, and you want to get up and do things. But there's only so much you can control. Certain things are out of your control. And I think in the business, I've learned that it is about who you know. A lot of it's about who you know. So I just got to bide my time and just think, well, I don't get me wrong. I'm not bitter and sour. I'm proud that I've got 2 books published, and I've got a following it's increasing and gathering. Sales, I don't think many people as a debut author are going to sell straight away, and I think that you just got to bite the bullet and realize that. But I would be, if I'm sitting here in 5 years' time and I haven't got like a movie deal or a Netflix deal, I'd be upset, because I know that this story deserves better than just being in pages, and not to say that it's the end of the world, but I'll be a little bit disappointed, let's just say, because I think I've had so much feedback, so many reviews saying this would be wonderful as a series. And it would just reach a lot more, because not everyone likes reading books. You can reach people with your story through a different medium, and that's what I would like to do. But yeah, I'm just going to continue with the marketing of book 3 next year. So that'll be my 12-month plan from now. Launch my book 3 in February, market it, and then I'm going to release all 3 together as one deluxe limited edition, in June or July, so summertime next year. So it's all in one volume. That would be the next plan. And then after that, I haven't decided. I have wrote sort of drafted out half of the story for book 4, but whether I'm committed to doing that, I don't know. Whether I just be accepting and just think the trilogy is strong enough, but I'm not ruling it out. I mean, I could co-write it with someone else, my book 4, but I don't think it'll be more than 4 books. I don't think I've got it in me to do 5. And I'm not a serial writer. Like I say, my style of writing is like, it's influenced by my experience, and I like to take my time, and it's not about churning books out every year, 2 or 3 books. I'd rather write one trilogy, 3 good books, and say, well, that's my contribution to the literary world, That's what I would rather do.
You
Anyway,
may
sorry,
surprise yourself, but you're right. In being an indie author is a marathon. It's not a sprint. But I would think you may surprise yourself. You have a driven personality. It sounds like you have a lot of creative thoughts in your brain. So I will say, I wrote my first series. It was 4 books, and never thought I'd write another book. And I'm on book 18 now. So
wow,
yeah.
Well, I think it would change my attitude, because the reason why I'm saying this is because I've had a rough 2 years. Like I said, I've had illness, and I've had the anxiety exacerbate, because I've had to do all the marketing on my own, all the publishing, all the editing, and it's a mountain of tasks when you have to provide for your family and work full time. So it's kind of off-putting to want to go through that endless. It's like so stressful. It's just endless stress, and I'm not a stressful person. I'm a calm. That's why I use my running to calm myself down, and I just don't want to feel like I've got to do this endless stress. Whilst yes, I like being a creative person, but I don't want it to be stressful.
Right. No. Yeah. That would be a negative.
And so I think unless my attitude would change, unless based on the fact that if the trilogy makes me money, and the sales go through the roof, and the only way that the sales will go through the roof of the book, if I get a movie deal or a Netflix deal, because as you know, once you've sealed the deal on that, people will start buying your book, yeah, and you'll also have the copyright sold to the producers. So if that happens, and it could well happen over the next couple of years, yeah, and if it does, then I will decide becoming a full-time writer. But and then I can say, yeah, I can churn out 1 or 2 books a year, yeah, or one a year at least. So like, so that's the only way it would work. But if it doesn't make it, and at the moment it's probably looking like that, you have to sort of be pessimistic about this, because if you are too optimistic, you'd end up with a mental breakdown, I think. So I think I've just got to think, well, this is just a hobby at the moment, and it's never gonna take off, because I've got to think like that.
Well, I think having your series finished is a big deal, because some people won't even start reading a series if they know it's not finished right yet. So having it finished will add that extra group of readers that will be like, no, I want to wait till the whole thing is finished so I can binge read my books, right? So yeah.
So don't get me wrong, I'd love to be a full-time writer. I think anyone who's embarked on becoming a writer, I think that's probably one of their ambitions, to be a full-time, because if you enjoy being creative, you don't need to churn 3 books a year out. You could just churn 1 book out a year, couldn't you? Or 1 every 2 years, and you could still make the money off it. But yeah, I mean, who knows? I'm only 46, so I could call it a day for about 3 or 4 years and come back to it in my 50. But no, I don't want to go through another 2 years of stress like I have. It's not been great.
Yeah.
But I shouldn't be saying that to the audience, but I'm just painting a true picture.
It's realistic. I mean, it's definitely, I think all indie authors have, or maybe all authors have that up and down of, or all artists as well. So yeah. Do you have your book with you? Do you have a cover you can show everyone?
Yeah. Got it here.
Oh, recognition. I love it. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Very creative.
So just at the time when COVID was coming out, when we were putting masks on, just before that, I had this premonition where I thought, I've got to get my face of an android on the cover with a mask over it because this is going to be big. And lo and behold, 3 months later, everyone was wearing masks, and it was like it was just a cool move, you know.
Yes.
So I think that sells itself with the mask, you know. It's very apt, very current, yeah.
Yes, definitely. I like it.
Yeah, that's my brand. So I've got that image on the second book and the third book as well. It's just obviously a modified version, but that's kind of has some synergy, you know, and I think that's the way I wanted it.
Yeah, I think those look great. So the name of your first book is Recognition. What is the name of the second one?
The series is Recognition.
Okay.
I'll tell you how I come up with that in a second, but the first book is Recognition dash Oxygen Debt. So the subtitle's Oxygen Debt,
okay.
part one. And then the second book is Recognition dash COVID-19 vaccine. Yeah. And then the third one, which I haven't released yet, and should be a secret this, but it's Recognition dash hypnoexia. Yeah.
Very cool. I'm gonna have a spoiler trailer special something for my podcast listeners, so that's awesome.
Yeah. So how I come up with the name Recognition was, well, I thought of the sort of the whole arc of the story, right, from through the whole trilogy is about getting recognized, and we all it's a bit like a modern day sort of philosophy for, well, we're all trying to become leaders, or we're all trying to get recognized in whatever we do in the workplace, and we very rarely get recognized or recognition for it. And so it's a subliminal message there in the title. So it's a powerful title in that sense, but also I wanted a title where it had make use of the CO as the CO2, as in the carbon dioxide element. So I've deliberately, as you can see, I've deliberately, you know, got the CO in black and the other letters in red. Yeah, then you've got cool. The two. Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, if you look at the book, the way it's subliminally got nation, that looks like nation.
Nation, yes.
Yeah. So
and
there's a lot of
recognition.
Recog,
like
yeah, and the cog is the wind turbine, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and the is the rethink. The cognition is think, yeah. So yeah. You're rethinking CO2, climate change, yeah. So there's a lot of stuff. So it's a lot of symbolism. There's a lot of what's the word? Where you not metaphor, allegory. Yeah, you know, where you have an allegory where it's like it's a symbolic meaning, and that's what I wanted the title to be, a symbolic meaning, like in the form of an allegories. But it's not just one allegory. There's 3 or 4. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you got it with the mask too. The mask almost looks like a cog because it has those different points coming out. It's not symmetrical, but it's a little bit like that.
So like I say, everything I try to pursue, I try to do it with some deep causativeness, where I haven't just put pen to paper. And I'm not disrespecting a lot of writers. I'm not saying writing's just all about adjectives, but you read some books and you think, oh, there hasn't been a lot of thought gone into this. But I wanted to make a statement like Orwell did, or like Huxley did. That's why I've deliberately took my time and put layer upon layer upon layer, so it could cross over to a multitude of different genres. I mean, it could easily be, when you read the second book, because the second book is very political as well, and social science. So you could say, well, it's in that sort of category that's with Orwell and Huxley, because it has an influence on society. What are we going to asking the big question? What are we going to do with AI in the future? What are we going to do with nuclear in the future? What are we going to do with renewable energy in the future? Yeah, do you understand all these 3 technologies? And that's why I was addressing in book 2. and book 3 will have that as well. But book 3 is, I would say, is more. It's bringing everything together, obviously, because it has to. It is an end to the trilogy. But I would say, how could I describe it more? I would say it's more psychological. Yeah, I'd say, because I don't want to give too much away.
No, don't.
But it's definitely got more psychological fiction in it. Yeah.
Very cool. It's been so great learning about your books. And yeah, I am enthralled and thrilled and excited to dive into them. So tell us where we can find them. So it's Recognition. Part 1, 2, and 3 will be out in hopefully February. What is your website name?
Yeah, my website name is www.markdowson. Dowson is spelled Delta Oscar Whiskey Sierra Oscar November. A lot of people think it's DA, it's not, it's DO. So it's markdowson.com. Yeah, so www.markdowson.com. And what I was going to say, yeah, you can buy the book from Amazon. You can buy it from Book Depository. I think there's some good discounts on Book Depository, and I think it's only a 4-day turnaround delivery time, whereas I think Amazon's a bit longer. You could, failing that, you could Barnes and Noble as well. Obviously, stores in the UK, it's like Waterstones, them sort of stores, but I'm not so sure about, well, other than Barnes and Noble in the USA. And Canada, I'm not familiar with retailers in Canada, sorry. But yeah, I think if you rely on probably Amazon, would be probably the best bet, or Book Depository.
Awesome. And you've already said you have all the appropriate social media accounts, so people can follow you there as well.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not. How can I say? I'm not. I had to hire a social media marketer just to keep up, because, as you know, it's very consuming. I suffer from anxiety myself. My mom suffers from it, and I find it exacerbates my anxiety if I'm on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook too long. I get like drawn into, addicted to it, where you just like, what am I doing? I'm still on it for 2 hours, and I've got things to do. Stop.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just it's just too absorbing, I built up a really good relationship with the Pakistani lady who she's just been my rock in terms of we just clicked. She's been able to help me. She's young. She knows all of the tricks of the trade on social media, so I really depend on her helping me do book tours. She's done some really good book tours and got me some really good reviews. And that's really sort of given me a lot of optimism. Which has been very helpful. And that's awesome. That's how she's created a good following for me. Because if it was left down to myself, I just wouldn't know where to start, and I just don't have the time either.
It's definitely challenging. Well, I wish you much luck in the future with your release of the 3rd in the series, and we'll cross our fingers for that Netflix or Amazon Prime deal.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I'm just. It would just be great. You'd have to have a big budget for this. So again, it's the chances of me finding a producer who is rich and famous and it could be the next Matrix. We don't know, but let's just hope. We can only hope.
Yes, we'll hold to that.
Okay, Trisha, thanks.
Well, thank you again for being here, Mark.
If you want to do a second part, no problem. Yeah, let me know. Because there might be some questions we haven't covered. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Great to see you. Great meeting you. Thank you.
As well.
Bye.